Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. Today we got another experiment for you guys, and that is to test is there such thing as being too long for projectors. Alright, so with the interest in building our space elevator, we really want to do an experiment and test out is there such thing as being too long for a projection. So I did a few minor quick tests to see, but I think the first question to really ask is what determines the projection's starting point? I think that is where we should start off first. So basically I've been testing it a little bit, and if I were to make a random grid like so and build upwards from here, let's just say 10 blocks, right? 10 blocks up. Actually, that's 11, right? Yeah, that's actually 11. So we're gonna remove the top one. So blueprint this and go to a projection, and we have different layouts for a projection, right? So we have one layout, which is this one here, and this one is based on having the 4 prong pieces on the bottom, very similar to this, and the 2 prong pieces up front. The opposite is the one right over here. So from my testing, and this held true in another video I did as well, was that if we project or blueprint what we just made, if I can get sorting to the most up-to-date one, which is this one, the 10 up one, and that's being projected right now. And where's the starting point? So from what I can tell, it's not showing anywhere. So that's a bit of an interesting point. Or no, sorry, it's the forward offset was off because I was playing around with it earlier. So I reset everything. So yeah, it's pointing downwards as you see here. And if I bring it up vertically to the positive, this goes upwards this way. So for some reason, the starting point of the projection is going down instead of upwards, which is kind of weird. So I couldn't really figure out exactly where the starting point begins in this point in time. So the projector one, the way I've set it up, where the 4 prongs on the bottom and the 2 prongs pointing forward, I do it this way because vertical positive is going up and then negative is going down. Horizontal offset is left and right. So positive would be right and negative on the left. And then your forward is positive and your forward backwards. Your backwards is negative. So that's why I prefer to do it in this way. Otherwise, if you flipped it around the way that we have in the second projection, put on the same projection, it points up initially, as you see here, right? So that's fine, but everything is kind of backwards when you do the vertical. So if you do positive, it's going down, and negative is going up. So that's why I prefer to set it up this way. But even though that doesn't really prove to say where's the starting point. So if I were to build a grid, I guess attached to something, right? So let's just say it's attached to this, and we build it upwards, 10 as well. So this right here, 9 plus the bottom one's 10. Break it from there, blueprint it. Where does it start? Is it going to be the same exact thing? I'm not sure. Let's see. So we're going to remove the blueprint, add the blueprint. This is the latest one, and it does the same thing. So does it matter which way it's kind of rotating on or how it's built? I don't think it really matters too much. I think it depends on the starting point of where you build or where you build ending. So let's just test that theory. So basically, if we go horizontal 10, right? So let's just say right there, 10 horizontal. We cancel out this block, blueprint it. So that's a horizontal version of it. And if we go to the projector, remove it, and add the latest blueprint, which is the horizontal one, you'll see that the starting point is pretty much on the left-hand side of where we started building from. So is that the case? I feel like it is, but I could be still doing something wrong here, or not knowing enough about how the projections work specifically. So here, if we do forward offset, the starting point of this blueprint seems to be exactly right over here in some ways. So can we prove that? Maybe we do a little bit of a color change here and then blueprint it. Maybe that would kind of determine where it's pointing from. So let's see. Blueprint this one. And there you go. Okay, so it's not. It's the... So the blueprint, in this case, the starting point is actually the latest block that we added on that side. So what happens if we add more blocks on this side? For example, we just kind of created an interesting color combination that looks like something. Anyways, let's blueprint this since we built a little bit more on the end piece, right? Do a blueprint, add this, and it seems like the starting point is here. So that's interesting. I'm not sure exactly how that's being determined. So if we blueprint it anywhere else, let's just say right here in the middle, is it going to make a difference? We go blueprint, add, and no, that doesn't make a difference. So what determines this block to be the beginning? Honestly, it's really hard to determine at this point, but that is the first block, and we could do forward offset and go all the way down that way, which is not a problem. So is there such thing as being too long when it comes to blocks like this? Let's see. So basically, get rid of this, right? We're going to build a little higher. So basically, we are going to start here, right? So this is our first initial block. And then we're going to go... Let's do 100 each. So counting this block, meaning we're going to go 99, a stretch of 99 right here. So 99 one will be the 100th block right there. That's the 100th block. And instead of adding color, we just add a block right there. We're going to go another 100. So this one's straight 100 because we didn't have a predetermined block in the beginning. So here's your 100 right here. And we place another block right there just to show that that's the latest piece. And let's just take a quick copy of the whole entire base so we don't have to do that whole thing all over again. But here we go. We're going to remove the beginning part, blueprint it, and then project it and see where the starting point is. So projection, let's just remove the first one. Ooh, yeah, let's just remove that one and add the latest one. And the starting point is somewhere in the middle. So that's quite interesting. Why does that change? Or let's see, like get rid of the forward offset. So when I did the forward offset change, now it's pointing backward. So yeah, now the beginning part is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th or 8th block. So what determines the starting point? That is really odd. So when I was doing testing earlier, actually I was able to get up to 500 with the starting point at the very beginning. So now everything's just changed. Did I do something wrong? Maybe. So let's try that again. So we're going to build here 100 blocks across again. So the 100th block will be right there. And I'll mark it. That block. Here's a 200th block. And we're going to mark the 200th block right here. And when I was testing it earlier, just to kind of get a little bit of an example of what's going on, so we can explain it a little bit better. There's 200 blocks here, and I removed this block, add 2 blocks back here, blueprint it, and go to my projection. And let's just start fresh, remove it. Let's just make sure everything is at 0. We blueprint, go to the latest block, and there we go. Now we have a projection that's kind of... The starting point looks to be... Actually, I'm not too sure, but it looks to be this end here. to really kind of determine that. I think we have to do some rolling or whatever it's called. And I'm only doing that so we can see if it is determined now that this is the front. So I added 2 blocks in the back here, and then it determined that for some reason this is where it's going to begin. And then you'll see it's a little upside down, I believe. Yep. So you see the 100th block right here. It's a little hard to see, but the 100th block marker here and the 200th block marker over there. So I wonder how far we can go so that it keeps this kind of starting point. And the starting point like this, if we look at our projector, is, yeah, it's at 0. So we can go, in this case, we can go forward, but we gotta go negative now for some reason. But we are now 49, 50 blocks forward. So it's really about how to make or determine the starting point of that blueprint. So quite odd that I was able to do it that way, where I built 2 blocks in the back to kind of do the same thing. So let's just kind of test that again really quick. So let's make 100 blocks here, mark it, another 100 block here, so 100 block right, nope, that's 99, 100, and mark it over there. I don't know if me doing that just kind of made a mess out of it, but we unhook it, blueprint it, go to our projection again, and see what happens. And now the projection is still determined to be the same thing as before. So we got rid of the offset, it's still beginning here. So that is quite interesting. Unless I didn't blueprint it correctly. So what does determine it if this is the case? So here I just added a marker at the top just to determine that's the same one that we just did. Remove that one, blueprint to the newest one. And you see it began with that new block that I just added. So if you can fix it to be like that, will it be the starting grid? So let's go backwards. So we're going to add to this block, right? The same exact thing we had before. But we're going to add a few more blocks this way. And just mark it just for fun. We'll blueprint it from the very tail end. And project it. Like so. And it is taking from the tail end the last piece that I put down. Okay. So if I put a block here and here as an example, blueprint it from here and project it, what happens? Remove, add, and then now our blueprint starts where we last added a block. That, okay, so that's kind of getting somewhere. Interesting. So if we got rid of this, or let's just do this first, right? Let's add these back. Let's blueprint from the tail end. Is that going to determine where the starting point is? Let's see. We go here, projection, blueprints, that last one here, and no, it's based on the last block I placed so far. So if I add, let's just say some blocks here, blueprint it here. In theory, it should blueprint from where I just added, right? And the answer is yes. Okay, so to determine the starting point, whether it's forward or backwards, it's based on the last block you placed. And I guess when you're in creative mode and you do a stretch, it might determine by the last block you placed too. I'm not sure. But anyways, so how far can we get with this? Right? So let's just say think we could build it this way. So we start here, and we're not gonna do one block at a time. So we're gonna stretch it out all the way to 100, right here. Mark it. Stretch out to 100 again, and I think we might hit the ground sooner or later. But here's 100. Mark that. Now we're gonna go 300 this time, so that's a difference in length so far. Yeah, we're definitely gonna hit the ground, which is not ideal, but it should be okay in terms of a projection anyways. And we mark it. So that's 300. So with 300, we take it off of the base right here, blueprint it, and the last block I placed was that tail end block. Right, so we go in here, project it, and it's this one, and it projects. Which one does it project? It projected the first block that I made, which is here. So that's the starting point. So if I marked it here and add it, let's just say 5 blocks this way, blueprint it, is it going to start back here, or is it going to start the same exact thing? So remove it and start here. So now it's okay. So that's where it gets confusing, right? The last block I put down was at the tail end, so that does extend it out some more. So okay, so that kind of works out. So let's go backwards a little bit. So let's start going this way instead. So let's just do, we did 300 so far, so this is going to be the next test here. 100 here. And we're gonna go, and it might be because of the markings that also adds to where the starting points are too. That's a possibility, but we're gonna leave it there so we can just continue to mark it so we know exactly what's going on and how far we are at. So that's 200. This is gonna be 300 right over here. Let's do 400 as quickly as we can. This is 400 blocks right there, and do 500. So 500 across in terms of blocks with the marker at the tail end. So we're gonna put that right here, and in interest of time, we're gonna teleport ourselves back here. We're gonna take this off, or yeah, we're gonna take this off, blueprint it, hopefully nothing broke, get into our projection if we can. Yep, remove, project, and this piece here. And now since I built it this way, it is now flipped over the other way, but still our forward is still forward in terms of positive, but in terms of direction, I think it's the way I have it now, it's actually the opposite of how you place them or blueprint them. But we have 500 blocks straight across, and it's gonna go, yeah, it's going into the ground. We have 500, yeah, we do have 500 blocks straight across, and the first block being considered, it's actually right here. So can we go further than that? I think we can. So unfortunately we broke it down and it fell on the ground, so we probably have to start all over in this case. So unfortunately we're gonna quickly settle this up as much as possible. So here is 100 blocks. Here's another 100 blocks. And I'll see you guys at 1,000. Alright, so we now have 1,000 blocks across. We're gonna unhook this guy. And it caused quite some lag, but we unhooked it, blueprint it on the tail end. And it's gonna crash a bit, but it's fine. We're gonna go in our projection, remove the previous one, add our newest one, and the starting point is still where we started building it initially, or where we were close to where we removed that block. That could be a factor too. So in this case, we have 1,000 blocks going that way. So is there such thing as too long? Up to 1,000? No, based on where you start. So let's just see for an example, if I started building over here and blueprinted it, will it make a difference in the projection? So now we go to projection, remove, go to what we just created, some really wacky looking thing. And no. So look like the starting point is where I disconnected it initially. These are the blocks I added. So if you built it kind of the way I did in creative mode, the starting point is the first initial build. So that's very interesting. How is it going to work in not creative mode? We're going to kind of find out in the Space Elevator time-lapse series, because it's not, I don't think it's one-to-one. It might be, it might not be, but if we are looking to create a really long arm in or projection in creative mode, your best bet is to try to get the projection starting point as the initial piece that you created. And I honestly thought it was going to be maybe the tail end piece, but it also could be because where I removed it caused the biggest issue or the change. So here's another projection just in case. I'll build a little more in the back, and we'll do a projection here. And the projection started still the same as what it was before. So what if we did a block here and then removed it and then projected? I don't know if that's gonna make a difference or not. And it didn't make a difference at all. So it is quite interesting how that all kind of works out. So 1,000 going straight, building exactly the way I built it, which is basically taking the blocks over here and build it straight, starting from here. Build 100 at a time, because the limit of this projection, not projection, but the build of a straight line is 1,000 across, 100 across supposedly. Sometimes it gets to 111, but usually I'd say 100 is your best bet. So we did 100 again right here, add that right there. Let me get rid of that because it's lagging it up. And we add another 100 going this way. Right here for an example. And we're not even going to mark it. We're just going to leave it as that and see what happens. And then from here, maybe it's because I am deleting it for the projection. Right here. And then blueprint it. That's why it's starting from here. Potentially. Not 100% sure. So, projection, blueprint, and the latest one I did. And yeah, so you see the starting point is from that right there. So, if you did the starting point there and keep building and building and building, there's no, I don't think it's going to be too long for projection. Would you build more than 1,000 at a time? You could, but it might lag up your machine. It's starting to lag up mine. And unfortunately, if you were to do something like take that same projection we just did and tacked onto it. So if you were to take the initial 200 block blueprint and build on another 200, so that's going to extend to 400, and you blueprint that, it actually tends to make the projection starting from the middle or so. So let's see if that's still the case in this point right here. So I remove it, put the newest one that's on the ground. Yeah, see, so it should be kind of right in the middle. So the first 200 on the left and the second 200 on the right. So that's not the way to do it. There's a chance that if we were to, if we can, extend this even more with the same projection, but flip it over, maybe we can create a new starting point. again, hard to really determine for some odd reason. But if we were to do something like that, right? So we have the same projection before, but it looks like the projection is starting at the middle when I copy and paste for the blueprint. But if we flipped it over a bit, see if we could add it here. I don't know if that's the starting point or end point or whatever, but it doesn't seem to want to kind of glue into it for some reason. Could be something's blocking over there. Yeah, but I think it's based on kind of the side. I can't paste it, unfortunately. So let's see. Maybe we could do F10. We'll take the, how many blocks is this one? This one is 200 blocks, right? So let's add the 200 blocks this way. And this is the tail end here because we marked it at the very end. So the beginning would have been, not sure why we can't glue it on. It's a bit of a pain. But we should be able to do it. Don't know why it's not letting me, but if it was able to do it, I think something's blocking it. No, there's nothing blocking over there. So it looks like it was going to take it for a second. Then it doesn't take it. I don't know why. Oop, that kind of glued it on. Although that did glue it on. Let's see where it starts. Maybe it's going to start in the front, maybe not. Hard to say. Alright, so let's see what that last projection kind of looks like. Yeah, it started kind of right in the middle. We have 600 blocks right in the middle. But as you saw before, based on how I initially built it, which is basically starting from here and stretching out, we got up to 1,000 and the starting point was still here once we moved this block. So there's a chance, and it's hard to test further than 1,000 because it's starting to lag up really bad. But I don't think you need more than 1,000 blocks straight line anyways for most things. So I can kind of say no, it's no such thing as being too long. But again, it all depends, and unfortunately I think I need to spend a little more time to see what really determines the starting point for the projection. As you see here, sometimes in the middle, sometimes the tail end, or the initial piece, or maybe again because I'm removing it. You tell me in the comments down below. Kind of really interested, and for some reason I can't pinpoint that exact thing. So leave a comment down below. I'll go test what you guys are saying to really determine where's the starting point for a projection. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video and kind of showed you how to make a projection as long as possible, or at least up to 1,000 I want to say in this experiment. But let me know down in the comments below what is determining the starting point of the projection. And of course, if you enjoyed this experiment, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.